Jellystone is an animated series currently streaming on HBO Max that features many familiar faces from Hanna Barbera's almost endless roster of wacky characters. The show is created by C.H. Greenblatt, who's known for Chowder on Cartoon Network and Harvey Beaks on Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon wants you to forget about Harvey Beaks, but I won't allow it. As I said, the show features a lot of characters from Hanna Barbera, and they all live together in the town of Jellystone, and it features a lot of the wacky hijinks you'd expect. And there are some deep cuts in this show. Like, there's a whole bunch that you'd expect, Yogi Bear and all them. But they dug through Hanna Barbera's backlog, and they dug up a whole bunch of characters that are probably recognizable, but I think the majority of people don't really know who they are. And most of them, granted, were just kind of referenced or put in the background or something, but it's nice to see some familiar faces even though they're a bit obscure. And while a lot of them were pretty much the same as their original counterparts, a lot of changes did need to be made. I mean, on their own, a lot of these characters are probably fine, but when you put them all together, you start seeing a little bit of overlap because, well, let's be honest, Hanna Barbera was notorious for recycling ideas. And many of these characters can be boiled down to, it's Yogi Bear, but a different animal or something. See, it's different. So yeah, they need to implement some changes to add a little bit of variety to the show. And like I said, some of them are very similar to their original counterparts, but most of the changes included stuff like different personalities or changing up what the character was known for. For example, Yogi Bear is a doctor. The very idea of that terrifies me beyond all rational thought. He's also joined by Boo Boo and Cindy, who work at the hospital with him. By the way, the hospital is run by Ranger Smith, or some form of Ranger Smith. I really don't know how that's supposed to work. Some of them fit very well, like Huckleberry Hound was the mayor of the town, and Snagglepuss was like a reporter, and I believe he was an announcer or a reporter or something for the Laugh Olympics, so I guess that's a callback to that. Although some of the new quirks they gave the characters were a little strange. For example, Peter Potamus is now really into anime. I don't know what made them do that, but it seems just kind of weird and random. Although, to be honest, the most disappointing thing about him was that not once did he say, "Did you get that thing I sent you?" Fix that for season 2. McGill the Gorilla is much more soft-spoken, and he owns a clothing shop, like a high-end clothing shop, or a very nice clothing shop. It's not that these are, like, bad changes, it's just that some of them are just so far removed from what the character was originally that it's a little bit jarring. Shazam was in this, not to be confused with Shazam from DC. He was like a genie from the Hanna-Barbera superheroes, and he was massive, too. He was, like, a giant. And in this show, he's kind of like just like a worker in whatever setting they're in. Like he's working at the grocery store, he's working at the movie theater or something like that. It's very weird seeing him in this because I always thought like the superheroes, the Hanna-Barbera superheroes were like so separate and far removed from like Yogi Bear and Scooby-Doo and all them. I was always hoping that they would do like a reboot of that somehow, like the Future Quest comic that came out a couple of years ago, which was really good. I would really like to see, like Space Ghost and Birdman and all them, put into a new show. They can have like their own version of the Justice League, or I guess since they're all under the Warner Brothers umbrella, maybe they can do like a full crossover with DC. I know they did a few crossovers with DC, but most of those were just one-shots or just Elseworld stories or something. But I would really like to see them utilize the Hanna-Barbera superheroes in something besides the comic. Like maybe do an animated movie or something like that. Oh, and speaking of which, Johnny Quest and Haji are in the show, and they run a bowling alley. Very far from the adventurous science boys that they used to be, huh? Admittedly, I did like seeing a lot of the more obscure characters utilized, even though, like I said, some of them were mostly just referenced or relegated to a background character or a one-off joke or something. For example, the Chattanooga Cats were turned into, like, Chuck E. Cheese animatronics at this restaurant. Does anyone besides me know who the Chattanooga Cats are? God, I used to watch a lot of TV. And yes, they did gender swap a few characters, but I think they kind of strategically picked which ones they were going to do that with, because a lot of them were characters that were very obscure and not very well known and nobody's really going to care about, so they can argue about it. For example, they changed half the Top Cat crew to girls. And I'm going to be completely honest, outside of Top Cat and maybe Benny, I barely remember anything about the other characters in Top Cat's crew. I didn't even remember what their names were until I had to watch this show and I looked it up again. The only complaint I have about that is one of Top Cat's crew's name is Brain. And if I remember correctly, in the original show, Brain was like the dumb one, which kind of made the name be ironic and silly. But new Brain is like a real girly girl, and she's like, oh my god, I'm gonna order these shoes online, you know, that type of character. And it kind of makes the name not make any sense. So I don't really know why they didn't, try to rename the character, or why they even bothered with this one, but I don't know, it just seemed kind of weird to me. Overall, the only one I think I didn't like was Jabberjaw, and not that new Jabberjaw isn't fun or anything, it's just that I really liked original Jabberjaw. I wish they could have kept that one the same at least. And you know what, while we're at it, how come they never rebooted Jabberjaw in the style of that Cartoon Network Groovy video? I mean, it was contemporary, it was fun, people would have liked it. It was right there, guys. You blew it. They probably did this also so that nobody really complains about anything, even though people are probably still going to complain about it. But I mean, you're going to be mad that Yacky Doodle is a girl now? Big fan of Yacky Doodle? You don't like Squiddly Diddly being a girl? Really? Is this the hill you want to die on? The best one, though, by far, is Augie. And original Augie was fine and all that, but new Augie is absolutely adorable, and I love the dynamic between her and her dad. And she was actually involved in a lot of my favorite episodes, too, like the grocery store one, where she got lost in the grocery store, and Doggy Daddy was at the front, trying to check out, but she was lost, and he was kind of freaking out, and she was trying to survive through the store, and I really liked that episode. I thought it was very funny, especially Doggy Daddy's part. There was an episode about pro wrestling, which also featured a lot of really cool references and stuff, and I really like pro wrestling episodes of TV shows, so that's definite points from me. The final episode was really cool too, but I'm not going to spoil anything about it. Overall, though, I ended up liking the show a lot more than I thought I would. And it was really cool seeing a lot of these characters again, even though, like I said, some of them are super obscure and mostly just recognizable rather than people knowing who they are or what they're known for. The Hanna Barbera roster of characters is very much an untapped well, and it was really nice of them to go through them and bring them to a newer audience rather than letting them slip into obscurity. And I think it was given to the best person possible. C.H. Greenblatt is a really funny guy who puts out some really cool and interesting shows. Although I wouldn't say Jellystone is as off the wall and meta as Chowder was, nor is it as innocent and wholesome as Harvey Beaks. I guess it's somewhere in the middle, which I think is the best place for it. I don't know if there's plans for Season 2 or not, but I know Greenblatt said that if he does get to do Season 2, he wants to bring in a whole bunch of new characters that haven't been utilized yet. And I think that's a good idea because my one biggest complaint about Season 1 is Secret Squirrel was not in it. He was always my favorite. He was super cool. And I really liked the reboot they did of him in the 90s, which was actually part of this Two Stupid Dogs show. And I keep forgetting it was the second show on Two Stupid Dogs. Honestly, it was the only reason I watched that show. But yeah, Secret Squirrel, Season 2. Make it happen. Or I'm going to lower my score of this show. I will threaten you with a 1-star review if you don't bring in Secret Squirrel. Oh, God. But that's all I got for Jellystone. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of it. And who is your favorite character from the show? My name is Rob, and have a wonderful day.